The Double 11 Shopping Festival on November the 11th every year has grown into one of the world's largest online sales events. Legions of shoppers flock to the bonanza, a clear gauge of China's strong consumer spending power, with sales setting new records year after year. Behind this thriving e-commerce is China's consistent efforts to improve supply chain efficiency toward a more unified national market. The recommendation for the formulating of China's 15th five-year plan emphasized the need to remove institutional and logistical bottlenecks to digital trade. A unified national market, once up and running, will not only help sustain China's high-quality growth, but also create broader opportunities for global partners. On this, let's bring in our panelists. I'm glad to be joined by Dan Wang, based in Singapore, China Director of Eurasia Group. In Kuala Lumpur, Peter Chang, former Deputy Director of the Institute of China Studies with University of Malaya. And also in Hong Kong, Hong Hao, Managing Partner and Chief Investment Officer of Lotus Asset Management. In Miami, John Quelch, Executive Vice Chancellor and American President of Duke Kunshan University. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. The Double 11 Day every year is almost like a festival. It's a shopping spree in China. Dan, are you storing up what you are having in the storage?
I could. I really wish I could, but in Singapore, I cannot store up for this day. But I was in Shanghai for the CIIE last week. I did store up in that trip.
Many people are like you, Dan, not necessarily impulsive buyers anymore, but rather make this a very rational day of decision making.
Right. It was a novelty in the beginning, but over time, people have realized the necessity of doing that. And there's a high variety of consumer goods, and the prices are quite cheap.
How? What is your gut feeling telling you?
Because of the spread of the internet merchants, many cities in China, even including the most remote cities, and also some offshore cities such as Hong Kong, we can now do online single-stage shopping. So it's a godsend blessing. So yeah, I'm planning to stock up, on some Red Bulls and coffees and stuff for my late night working into the new year.
Well, I hope you are not doing too much late night working. But having said that, though, we see this interesting phenomenon switching from a sprint of buying products to now a rather marathon of competition among the merchandisers, and also the applications of new technology in the very middle of this. So what do you make of this change?
If you look at this year, right, many of the online merchants actually engage in price wars, trying to beat each other out with lower prices. And during that period, actually, shoppers in China were able to drink coffee for free. So I think that also solicit a policy response from the government, in the sense that the anti-involution campaign sort of formally started since then. So since then, we're actually seeing some better price competition on the internet, and also some price recovery in the consumer sector. For example, the latest CPI is actually better than what the market was expecting. So I think things are in for the change. But in terms of the online shopping platform, they are very matured, and they are not classified as one of the high-tech industries in China these days.
It is the best time almost to test the appetite of the consumers and what the Chinese consumers want. Dan?
In the consumer goods market, it's actually the supply that determines the demand. And we can also see that narrative in the latest announcement of 15th five-year plan. And we have noticed more varieties of household appliances at even lower price offering to consumers. And for Chinese buyers, they are actually enjoying this very rare window that they could have high quality goods, but at extremely low prices. I wonder how long this could last, because profit margin has already been cut to the bone, and there is no more room to really cut it without having massive layoffs. And for small businesses, they are doing a lot more trying to improve the profit margin. And in fact, when I was at CIIE, looking at how those foreign competitors are doing, I feel domestic producers can learn a lot from them. For example, the New Zealand food industry, they're producing, say, the kiwi products, dry kiwis, or toothpaste, or toothpick at extremely high margin. And the only thing they did was to use more in R&D, to use some special oil to soak those toothpicks so that it feels more smooth. But for domestic competitors, they're just trying to drive down the prices, and that's different strategy.
Right. John, I was reading one of your latest articles talking about Chinese consumers not only consume a lot, but also consume well. Tell us more about that, and how is this related to the Double 11 Day or the Singles Day as we speak?
At the moment, of course, Chinese consumers do lack confidence relative to their counterparts in other countries, and we know that there are a number of reasons why that's the case. So the government is very keen on driving more consumption, but what I notice among young people in particular is that they are not interested in resource depleting consumption. In other words, consumption that's going to use scarce resources, as opposed to putting their money into experience-based consumption, either tourism, going to a concert, going out to a restaurant. All of these service sector activities are in many respects more sustainable and less damaging to the environment in terms of emissions and resource depletion than goods and material possession type purchasing.
Peter, what is your observation from where you are in Southeast Asia? Consumption habits in China changing, not only for the Chinese market, and what does that mean for the economies in Southeast Asia?
I just want to give a couple of points. One is that the online commerce platform is also catching on in Malaysia. But in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, our shopping malls are still thriving. We still love our physical stores. This is going hand in hand. Both the physical stores, shopping malls are still thriving, and then the online are also booming. As with regard to 11/11, some of us are catching on with that trend, but our focus here in this part of the world are preparing ourselves for Christmas. And with regard to consumption itself, we are moving towards more than just material physical consumption, towards more experience-based and service consumption. And that is going to be driving Malaysia and the regional economy, I think, increasingly so, moving from quantity to quality.
Right. Having said that, though, Peter, there's also a lot of discussion and also actions, not only for Chinese goods to be sold inside the Chinese market, but also for goods all over the world. We see that being reflected in some of the promotions, not only just related to the Singles Day, but also related to the year-long interaction between Chinese manufacturers and also their overseas consumers. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we just had our ASEAN summit last month, and one of the hallmark of the summit was the China-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement 3.0. This is amazing. I mean, at a time where there's so much talk about deglobalization, tariffs, and sanctions, here we are. In this part of the world, ASEAN and China is going to pursue even more open trade, even more free flow of goods. Here in Malaysia, certainly we are looking forward towards a much more open market for our goods in China. And then with regard to the 15th five-year plan as well, I think China is determined to make sure that the regional economies will become more integrated. And there is a lot of momentum, there's a lot of vibes. We feel that, of course, we are experiencing influx of Chinese goods, which is really lifting up our socio-economic well-being. But we're also looking forward to bringing our goods to China, our agricultural products, our palm oil, and our other semiconductor products towards China. So we are looking forward to another period of really exciting and free trade, open trade era.
Absolutely, it's double-way traffic or even multiple ways of traffic as we speak when it comes to trade. But John, tell me more about, as you read from the 14th five-year plan, the plan that just wrapped up, it is about building the unified single market in China. How is that doing, and how much is that creating the opportunities for companies all over the world into the Chinese market?
Domestic Chinese market remains one of the most important markets in the world. And for many Chinese companies, the further penetration of the Chinese market into second, third, and fourth tier cities is a major source of potential growth for them. Of course, the level of capacity utilization varies from one industry to another. So some companies are more competitively price challenged in the domestic market than others. But certainly we can see on the other side of the coin, Chinese companies responding to government encouragement to go international. And the data clearly show the level of investment that Chinese companies are making overseas is really growing at a significant pace. And what's going to happen is that the profits generated by those Chinese companies overseas are going to flow back into China. So from an overall economic planning point of view, having significant overseas Chinese investment is going to be very, very positive for the long-term health of the economy. We have many examples from even 15 years ago of Chinese state-owned enterprises going international and generating a lot of business for China and Chinese workers back home by building primarily infrastructure internationally. Now there's a broadening in the range of Chinese companies that is going international. And as China has moved into much more of an innovative mode in its manufacturing activity, China has the ability to offer a whole range of innovative high-tech product to the rest of the world, especially to the global south. And I think we're going to see the emergence of very significant brand names on an international scale. At the moment, probably Huawei at the moment is probably the most significant Chinese international brand, but there are others like Medea and so on coming along very fast, and they have a lot to offer internationally. The biggest constraint on the internationalization is the ability of Chinese companies to attract and retain and manage human capital talent in the countries in which they are aiming to expand. The human resource management problem is probably the single biggest challenge that these companies are currently facing.
We have seen how, since the 14th five-year plan, the unified single market has been raised and has become one of the important goals of China. How is it doing so far? And what does that mean for as specific as a single-day shopping spree, or as large as the overall economic planning and Chinese market remain attractive not only to its own companies, but also for companies all over the world?
A couple of years ago, we actually, raised this strategic intention to build a consolidated, uniform domestic market. Reason being that the Chinese production capacity has been expanding quite rapidly. In the sense that now we are exporting Chinese goods to satisfy foreign needs, and also the domestic consumption seems to be lacking. So I think at the time when Chinese goods are taking market share from foreign competitors in foreign markets, it could create some resentment and resistance from foreign countries, to sort of resisting the imports of Chinese goods. So therefore, it makes the big, huge domestic market importance all the more important. So I think as a result, this year in the new five-year plan, we're seeing a lot more emphasis on boosting domestic demand, the emphasis of boosting domestic demand in the overall policy hierarchy has increased substantially. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see in the next couple of years we continue to make good progress towards this goal. Already, we're seeing the logistic network, the supply chain network within the Chinese, within the country, is already built up. Just now I mentioned that even remote cities in parts of China can now participate in this world's biggest single-state sales event. So I think the groundwork has been laid, the strategic intention has been set up, and also the intention to resolve a sort of underconsumption problem in China is gaining importance as well. So I would say that going forward, we're seeing a much bigger, more significant domestic market rising.
Dan, what about your observations? Certainly, we have seen logistics has been improved in terms of unified single market, but there are still policies in different provinces, municipalities, and also autonomous regions that are quite different from one another. There's also the issue of transparency. There's also the issue of sustainability, the issue of how private enterprises are being treated. So all of these are one after another important topics that are addressing to the fundamental challenges and also opportunities that China is facing right now when we talk about deepening the reform.
Well, I noticed one interesting detail in the fourth plenum. The anti-involution was discussed not in the context of industries or price war. It was discussed in the context of building a unified domestic market. Because for most Chinese provinces, they have their local industries, especially cars. The whole auto supply chain has many mini auto supply chains. And how to break those barriers is a really big challenge. It's probably even more difficult than asking the companies not to engage in the price war, since every local government has incentive to defend their own territory. And I think the government's next step is to try to find a differentiated market among differentiated consumer goods. There will be a lot more competition, but probably in a more healthy way.
China's central government and local governments, their relations has been going through this transformation since China's reform and opening up for 4 decades already. And there is, of course, a very strong national government. While at the provincial level, for example, and even lower local levels, there are also different approaches in order to boost their economy, to be a big contributor to the national growth. So how do you see this evolving as a result when we talk about this unified single market?
If you look at the policy directives across China from government, you find that approximately only 20% of the policy directives are coming from the central government. 80% of the policy directives coming from provincial and local governments. And, competition among the provinces is good. But beyond a certain point, competition becomes counterproductive with duplication of effort and the consequent inclination to protectionism at the provincial level. And this is actually a drag on the economy, and the central government will have to deal with this. And in many, many sectors, such as the auto sector, there is an important imperative for a competitive shakeout to occur so that the inefficiencies from duplication and the excesses of resource allocation to a sector beyond what it needs in order to satisfy the domestic market can be addressed.
This high quality development in China and high quality growth really going into so many different directions of China's economy. Observing from where you are, how do you think that is likely to transform the cooperation between China and also the local businesses and companies in your country, and also at the national level cooperation as well?
Here in Malaysia, we feel it acutely. We feel it on the ground. I'll give you an example. Staying on the automobile industry, Malaysia's national car, Proton, recently has been taken over by Geely. Geely has bring in a lot of technology, capital, investment, really lifted up the national brand now. And in terms of not just production, but also assembly plants, and also to John's point, technological transfer, which is so crucial for us in this part of the world. We just do not want to be left behind. We just do not want to be a passenger in the car. We want to be a driver as well. So that kind of joint venture between Geely and Proton is crucial, where there is really on the ground transfer of technology, learning the skills and trying to keep in pace with what's happening in China. China is moving so fast. Malaysia and Southeast Asia must pace ourselves and make sure that we are not left behind, too far behind. And to the second point about provisional competition, we are seeing that happening in Malaysia among the provinces. BYD is coming in, Geely is coming in, Chery is coming in, and they are competing with one another as well in the Malaysia automobile market. It obviously is very good for the consumers, but I'm not too sure what's the long-term impact that would be.
Recently, we have learned that the Malaysian government has decided to make a new approach, meaning more joint cooperation between China and Malaysia. When China brings in investment and technology, while Malaysia coming into the cooperation with the raw materials and also likely to develop more companies and factories inside Malaysia. Meanwhile, of course, Malaysia also opened your critical materials to the others, Japan, the United States, and the list goes on. So how do you articulate, when you are seeing a very competitive environment here in China, even among the localities, among companies, how do you think your economy is taking friendly and great advantage of this, and how will that serve your advantage eventually?
A couple of points. One is ASEAN, Malaysia as a whole continues to maintain our neutrality principle. By that we will engage with every stakeholders within the region. The second point is we want to climb up the value chain. We do not want to be just a place where you could extract our rare earth materials and bring it to wherever you want to process it into the end product. We want foreign partners to process and help us to develop, for example, our magnet production capacity within Malaysia also.
Today is the Singles Day. It's a shopping spree day, but it seems that we're pretty calm in discussing these questions. There seems to be a lot of things ahead that needs to be resolved in order to make our markets attractive and also our consumers satisfied. So Hao, go to you first.
Yeah, well, I think Singles Day, is one of the examples that how China can set up a unified domestic market and also showcase, how strong the domestic consumption can be. It's been lasting for years, and now it's grown to the world's biggest sales event. So I think, going forward, we can build on this foundation, borrowing experience, from the past couple of years of trying to build a unified domestic market and succeed in the 5-year plan going forward.
Coming on the back of the very successful ASEAN summit, people in this region has got a lot of confidence. We feel that the momentum is behind us, and with the free trade agreement upgrade, the 3.0 with China, and then the convening of RCEP in the region, we really feel that free trade is the way forward.
Dan, what about for you?
I think just like any other industries, Chinese consumer market is also going high tech. If you remember that President Xi actually gave Xiaomi phone as a gift to the South Korean president. And this is for the first time that we give this high-tech product that's in direct competition with another country. And previously it was just silk and porcelain, those traditional craft. So for Chinese consumer market, we really need to take a fresh eye. Everything is upgrading, including the Chinese consumers.
All right, and John?
Chinese consumers are very keen on innovation. They chase innovation. They love to spend money on new products that they can experiment with. But I'm sensing a radical shift away from the investment or spending on material goods towards emotion-giving, service-based, experiential purchasing. And I think this is going to be part of the story for Double 11 going forward. The young Chinese consumer is embracing the culture and heritage of China, and that bodes very well for tourism, sports, entertainment, media industries. These are going to be very important drivers of consumption going forward, and they are much less resource intensive than material goods-based products.
Oh, well noted. Thank you so much, John, Dan, Peter, and Hao. Really appreciate this very resourceful discussion. Thank you so much, and enjoy your shopping spree today. Thank you.